What's up, guys? Thanks for coming back to Lockdown Universe. Just wanted to let you guys know that Anchor now is allowing you to become part of the Lockdown Universe experience by becoming part of the subscription. We're only charging $1.99 currently, and we want you to be part of the experience. We're going to offer unheard of whistleblower testimony, as well as government insider information, as well as folks who have undergone hypnotic regression and told us their story. So please tune into that if you are interested for deeper cuts and deeper information. Please consider being part of the subscription. It's only $1.99 and it's definitely worth it. So join in. Let's get to the show. Welcome back to Lockdown Universe, home to bizarre, peculiar, and unheard of stories of UFO legend and lore. We are back. Happy to be back. Fall is in the way. It's coming in. It's getting cooler in the U.S., so hopefully it's getting cooler where you are. I came across a really interesting article, and I wanted to kind of talk about it here with you guys. It's on anamaalien.com, and it states that a NASA study says if we don't change, aliens will remove us. And they say it's not a fear-mongering article, but a very real article about what could happen if we don't change. So, I'm not going to sit here and pine over the fact that, we're destroying our planet and that kind of thing. I want to talk about the potential for aliens actually taking us out. So, in this article, they do talk about the fact that, humans are greedy, humans are selfish, humans are, very self-centered, and that would be the reason for why aliens would come and take us out. Well, throughout the centuries, throughout the decades, we've had so many movies about aliens coming down, attacking us, Independence Day, Mars attacks, so on and so forth. It hasn't happened. Okay? Yeah, they have been abducting us. That's true. And they have been creating hybrids. That's true. What their total overall agenda is, we don't know. But what we do know is they're not here to destroy us yet. Despite the fact that we've gone through the Industrial Revolution, where we created tons and tons of damage to the environment, and we've been doing it ever since. Aliens have been with us for at least 30,000 years. We have the cave drawings and cave paintings and cave carvings in Australia. We have them in South America, and we even have them in America as well by the Native Americans. So these carvings, they date back 30,000 years. Guys, these guys have been here for 30,000 years at least, and it shows us shooting arrows at them while they're taking cows up into the sky. So these things have been taking cows, they've been abducting us for 30,000 years. If they were going to take us out, they would have done it by now. Now that we got that out of the way, now I'm not saying that they're great. I'm not saying that these aliens are great, that they have our best interests at heart, not all of them. But let's take a look at what we would do. Now put yourself in the spacecraft seat for a second. You're the commander of your ship. Your mission is to go out and explore a planet that has yet to be explored, and we've received signals that the species on this planet is developing technology to get off of their planet and potentially come into our neck of the woods in the next few decades or the next few centuries. We want to keep an eye on them, right? Because these guys are dangerous. They're at war with each other. They're selfish. They work on, a capitalist system where they don't care about anybody else. They're just caring about themselves and making enough money to survive for their family. They're not really out there for the greater good, and they've been proven to attack each other to dominate in their own planet. So the potential for them to come here and try to dominate our planet is high. Okay, you're in the flight seat. You're the commander. You're Captain Kirk. Go out there and explore. You go to this planet and explore it. You find out what they're doing. They're causing mass damage to their environment. They're at war with each other. Most families are pretty much isolated from every other family and only making enough money to take care of themselves. And outside of their nuclear family and maybe their extended family and maybe a little bit in the community, that's about as far reaching as the engagement goes. So why would they really care about our health, right? So you go to that planet and you see that. You can think of Planet of the Apes, and you can think about like the Mark Wahlberg movie when he went to the Planet of the Apes in his craft, and he saw how the apes were, very aggressive, and it, there was a lot of similarities between humans and apes in that movie, right? We kind of we were the apes basically, even though the apes were, you know, primates. The whole movie was basically, an simile to us and how we survive and how we interact with ourselves within humanity. So imagine if you were Captain Kirk, you go to another planet and you see this, and you say, okay, this is what these guys are doing. We want to keep an eye on them. They have nuclear weapons. They could cause a lot of damage if they tried to come here. And we don't know what kind of defenses aliens have of their planet, right? We don't know that. We don't know what kind of offensive weapons they have either, really. We haven't seen that. Um, we haven't had an alien battle between their spacecraft and our aircraft. We have seen some videos where F-15s, F-16s, Raptors have accompanied some UFO disc-shaped craft, but we don't know if they were ours or theirs. So we don't know what aliens can and can't do as far as defensive capabilities and offensive capabilities. So they would probably want to keep an eye on us, which is what I believe they're doing. Now, this article, is, it is fear mongering. I don't care what they say, but it is fear mongering, and I don't try to do that with this podcast. I try to be as real as I can be with you guys about what I find out. And yeah, aliens can be the bad guys. They're not our friends. They don't have to be, right? Some of them have proven to be beneficial for us and have been very helpful. But again, right, everybody's going to kind of take care of themselves first, and then try to take care of the neighborhood, right? Secondary. Imagine you got like a bunch of young kids you have to take care of, and they're all out there acting crazy, and you're the parents. And if these kids act too crazy in their little area and they come over to your neighborhood and act all crazy, you have to control the neighborhood, right? And that's kind of what I think they're kind of doing here to a degree. So I'm going to go back to this article, and they talk about, how we are as humanity and how we kind of are pretty destructive, and we haven't cared enough about our own species to be beneficial, to be able to fly out into space and be beneficial enough for another species. Let's face it, right? We can't take care of our own hungry, our own veterans, and a lot of our society, just because of the setup, the current structure of our society is not set up well enough to take care of ourselves. If you can, if you're able to, and you're physically able to, you can work and you can take care of yourself. But if you're not, you have to rely on society, right? You have to rely on Social Security, or if you're listening from another country, you probably have another system that takes care of your society, or maybe you don't. You might have to rely on your family, and that's tough. So if we're still relying on our family and not taking care of humanity fully, how can we expect, like, the United States just develop their Space Force? How do we expect the U.S. to go out there and be super beneficial to another alien species? It's just not realistic, really. So I just thought it was interesting to talk about this particular article. Let's go back into it here. The article also says they could be here to help us. Now, from what I've seen and what I've read, they have told abductees to take better care of the planet, that we're destroying it, but they also haven't told us. I haven't heard one single story about how they've told us they're helping us create a better planet. I've read some pretty detailed stories about how they say that they have multiple bases around the world. They have a base in Antarctica, they have a base on the South Pole, they have a base underwater, and then at all these bases, they're monitoring the environmental flow, the temperature of the water in the oceans, the quality of the oxygen in the air, and that kind of thing. But I haven't heard a single abduction story that has had an alien tell a human abductee that they're doing anything to help us, right? And that's the kind of concerning thing to a point, is that they haven't really told us that they're really helping us. They've been taking what they want. They've been taking their DNA, our DNA, and they've been doing what they want with it. They've been taking bovines and cows and doing what they want with them, but they haven't told us that they're really helping us. Unless the overall agenda is to have these hybrids that they're creating basically populate the planet to be able to survive with the destruction that we've caused. So that's the only thing I can think of where they could actually be benefiting us. So what do you think? Do you think aliens are out there benefiting humanity? It's pretty clear that they're not here destroying us currently. They're not necessarily the good guy, and they're not necessarily the bad guy, right? When it comes down to it and we look at them objectively, they're here doing their job. And in many abduction stories, it just seems the abductees always state that it seems like they're scientists. They're just going about their day doing their science, doing what they want, examining us and things like that, putting tracking systems in us, like the previous podcast I talked about, where they put a tracking device behind that poor woman's eyeball after they popped it out and put it on her cheek. So they're tracking us. They're taking what they want. But it seems like it's more science than it is them here to destroy us. Maybe it's just us destroying ourselves and they're going to repopulate the planet with hybrids. I don't know. But, just going back to this article and how it says, the aliens will just take us out and repopulate us. Maybe. I mean, it's possible, and I hate to kind of bring up like total conspiracy theories and stuff like that, but sometimes it does provide to be interesting. I was watching one of Jesse Ventura's videos, and the woman was talking about a woman that he interviewed was talking about how the CDC knows that we have 90% too many people on the planet, basically, that the growth in population cannot continue. And so she felt like, this was back in 2009, she felt she had insider knowledge that there would be a pandemic and there would be a virus and that there would be mandatory vaccines that would be required that would be under the guise of voluntary vaccines. And so I thought that was really interesting, and she didn't even want to stay in the United States. She took off. She came in for the interview on a plane and took off right afterwards. She was a doctor. So, again, right, it's up to you guys. I'm not saying don't get the vaccine or anything like that. I'm just saying that there's lots of interesting theories out there that kind of blend together with the alien existence and alien phenomena, to try to figure out what's really going on here, because clearly we're not getting any answers from the government. And I think that's why a lot of people are very suspicious about the government. They don't trust them. And that's why a lot of people aren't wanting to get the vaccine either. So they've proven time and time again that they're willing to do undercover ops, that they're willing to create things, create events before wars happen to initiate wars. And so if there was some sort of depopulation agenda, it would be pretty simple to do if the aliens wanted to do it, if they were in conjunction with the government, that kind of thing. It'd be pretty simple for them to do. They could do it. They could spray something in the air. They could do the vaccine thing. They could do something with the environment. They could put stuff in food. They could do anything, if they wanted to. So, I mean, if you're worried about it just being a vaccine, it could really be anything, So it's really, it's totally up to you what you want to think, what you want to believe. But at the end of the day, we still haven't seen that they're here to destroy us. So what do you guys think? What's the takeaway here? The takeaway is we still don't know the full alien agenda. We do know that they're creating hybrids. We do know that they're creating, other animals, taking DNA from bovines. We have figured that out. We have decided that these hybrids are real, that they need human compassion, that they haven't figured out how to fully utilize them and make them grow without human interaction from their parents. And that they haven't done anything destructive yet. But could that change in the future? Absolutely. The other takeaway is, what would you do if you knew that there was a potentially hazardous species out there in your neck of the woods, and you're the captain, right? Let's just say, for example, I'm wrapping this up, but let's just say, for example, that there's, some serial killers on a planet, right? And they're just killing each other all the time. Or not even on a planet, in your city, right? And there's a certain part of that city that's just bad all the time. What are you going to do if you're the captain? You're going to probably try to keep that part of the city out of your city, right? You're going to try to protect yourself as much as you can. So, it's common sense. It's survival 101. It's taking care of yourself and keeping anything potentially hazardous away from you. And these guys are here to monitor us, and they're here to make sure that we don't screw them up. And they want to make sure that we don't use nuclear weapons on each other. They've clearly shown that through many different events where they've actually knocked missiles, ICBMs, out of the sky. They have it on video. If you haven't watched the Disclosure Project, check that out. Michael Salla always talks about those particular events that he actually witnessed as a military official. So they have the capability to stop any potential violence among us, in a great scale. So these guys are interacting. They're stopping certain violence from happening, which is interesting because they know that violence isn't always the answer, maybe. It's an interesting point. Something to gnaw on. What's the future for humanity? We'll have to explore that for another time. So anyway, guys, hopefully I gave you a lot to chew on. I know it's a lot to think about. But if you want to check that article out, it is interesting. They say it's not fear-mongering. But, there's a lot of clickbait out there. So I definitely clicked on it and I looked at it. I thought it was interesting. And there's a lot to talk about. So take care of yourselves. Take care of yourselves emotionally, physically, spiritually. Like I always say, the only way to save ourselves, in the long run anyway, is to love each other. The only way to save ourselves is to take care of each other. The only way to live a happier life is to follow your hobbies and your goals and your dreams, man. You got to follow your hobbies. You got to follow your dreams, and to be happy. Nobody wants to be unhappy for their entire life. So if you can follow your dream, do it. By all of us following our dream, following our passions, we're going to have more love to give and more energy to give to each other by not being miserable. We want to be happy. We want to be happy. We want to strive for happiness as a human family. So I hope you're doing that, and take care of yourselves this weekend. It's a long weekend, and I hope you enjoy it. And as always, continue to question the universe around you. Till next time, Lockdown Universe out.